Hi, dear students. Hope that all of you are keeping fine, and I expect that all of you had gone through the chapter that we discussed last time, the Union Judiciary, the Supreme Court. And today we are going to see the State Judiciary, the High Courts. You may please take chapter 5, page number 51. So, today we are going to study about the High Court. Last time we learned about the Supreme Court, and this time it is about the High Court and its roles and functions and the powers. At the state level, the High Court is the highest court. At the national level, Supreme Court is the highest court. The same as at the state level, High Court is the highest court. And there were 21 high courts in India. 21 high courts there were, and three among them have jurisdiction over more than one state. Normally, the High Court has got its jurisdiction in one state, but three out of these 21 they are having jurisdiction over more than one state. The examples are given. Chandigarh High Court has jurisdiction over two states, Haryana and Punjab. Bombay High Court has jurisdiction over the states of Maharashtra and Goa. And till 2030, Guwahati High Court has had jurisdiction over seven states of Northeast: Assam, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura. But after 2013, in January, the Centre has constituted three new high courts for Meghalaya, Manipur, and Tripura. So, after 2013 January, the Centre established the new High Court for the states named Meghalaya, Manipur, and Tripura, and the number of High Court also increased from 21 to 24. So, the total number of High Courts in the country from 21 to 24 after 2013. Delhi is the only union territory to have a high court. Other union territories are placed under the jurisdiction of the High Court of any its adjacent states. So the only Delhi is having the High Court, the union territory which is having the High Court, and all other union territories are having the jurisdiction under the jurisdiction of the High Court near to the particular union territory. And now we will see the composition and organization of the High Court. The High Court has a Chief Justice. Just like in Supreme Court there is a Chief Justice, in High Court also there is a Chief Justice appointed by President. So, and such other judges as the President of India may appoint from time to time. The number of judges of High Court is not fixed. On the other hand, in Supreme Court we had seen the number of judges are fixed. Maximum number it was 30, and here the number is not fixed, and their numbers varies from state to state. According to the state, it varies. Depend on the state, the number of judges will change. Allahabad High Court has maximum number of serving judges. It is 160, and that is the highest among all the high courts of India. So the High Court has got a Chief Justice appointed by President, and there are other judges. And the number of these judges are not fixed according to the depending on the state. It varies from one state to other. Now we will see the appointment of the judges. The President appoints the Chief Justice of High Court in consultation with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and the Governor of the concerned state. The first point it is that the President of India appoints the Chief Justice of High Court in consultation of Chief Justice of Supreme Court and the Governor of concerned state. So, in order to appoint the Chief Justice of High Court in Maharashtra, then the President has to consult with the Chief Justice of Supreme Court and at the same time the Governor of Maharashtra. And other judges are appointed in the same manner, except that in their case the Chief Justice of the High Court will be consulted too. So the other judges in High Court will be appointed the same manner, consulting with the President appoints after consulting with the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, the Governor, and one more, that is consulting with the Chief Justice of High Court. So the President has to consult with the Chief Justice of Supreme Court, the Governor of concerned state, and the third one, the Chief Justice of High Court. The Chief Justice of India will consult two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court before making any recommendation to the President in this matter. In Supreme Court, in order to appoint a Supreme Court judge, the Chief Justice of Supreme Court consult with the four senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. But in this case, he can consult with the two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court before making a recommendation to the President in what matter? In the appointment of judges in High Court. The President may appoint additional judges in case of temporary increase in the work. If there is a temporary increase in the work, then the matters related to judicial matters, and if there is an increase in the work, then the President can increase the number of judges, the additional judges of High Court. And the age should not be more than 62 years. And his term of office should not exceed 2 years. The President can appoint a person as the additional judges if there is a temporary increase in the work, but the age should not exceed 62 years, and it is for maximum, his term of service, it is for maximum 2 years. And when a judge of the High Court is unable to perform the duties of his office, the President may appoint a properly qualified person to act as a judge of the court. The acting judge holds office till the permanent judge resumes his office. Whenever a particular judge there in the High Court, he is not able to perform his duties very well, maybe because of his ill health or some other issues, then the President can appoint a properly qualified person to act as the judge, and he can hold his office till the permanent judge resumes his office. The newly appointed one, he is a temporary judge, and once the permanent judge resumes his office, then the newly appointed temporary judge should vacate the place. When the Chief Justice is unable to perform his duties, the President may appoint one of the permanent judges to act temporarily as Chief Justice. Whenever even the Chief Justice is not able to perform very well, and if he is having any problems, then the President can appoint one of the permanent judges to act temporarily as a Chief Justice. Now let's see the qualification of the judges. First of all, he must be a citizen of India. And the second one, he should have held a judicial office in India for at least 10 years. He should have held a judicial office in India for at least 10 years, or he should have been an advocate of any high court for at least 10 years. That is the first three qualification. And the third one and the fourth one, the qualification, a distinguished jurist. Distinguished jurist means a highly qualified law professor. So the fourth qualification is that the person must be a distinguished jurist, and it has been added by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. And these all are the four qualifications for the judges in High Court. And now we will see the conditions of service. First one, term of office and removal. Term of office and removal. The age, maximum age, that is 62 years. Every judge of the High Court will hold his office until he attains the age of 62 years. So 62 years is the maximum age limit of the High Court judge. And then he can be removed from his office on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity. Just like the judges in Supreme Court, the judges in High Court also can be removed on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity. But for this one, both the houses of the parliament should pass the resolution with a majority of 2/3. We had seen the same procedure. therein the removal of judges in Supreme Court. The same procedure is here also. If we want to remove the judge, the High Court judge, then on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity, then both the houses of the Parliament should pass a resolution by majority of total membership of the House and a majority of not less than the 2/3 of the members. And then it will be sent to the President. They should next present an address to the President for such a removal. So that is the procedure for removing the High Court judge. Why he is following? They are following such a kind of difficult procedure. It is to ensure the independence of the judges of the High Court. They also in High Court also they follow a, for the removal of the judges of the High Court, they follow a difficult procedure. It is to ensure the independence of the judges of the High Court. And a judge of the third condition is that a judge of the High Court may resign by writing to the President. The first one it is that maximum age limit is 62 years, and the second one it is the judge can be removed on the basis of proved misbehavior and incapacity, and that should be passed with a not less than 2/3 of majority from Parliament. Then the President should agree with that one. And the third one it is that the High Court judge can resign by writing to the President. The next point we will see is that oath of office. A judge of the High Court, before entering upon his service or office, takes an oath before the Governor of State or same person appointed by him. So he has to take an oath before the Governor of the State or the person appointed by him. First one, to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. Allegiance means loyalty. He should be loyal to the Constitution of India and bear faith towards Constitution of India. Second one, he should uphold the Constitution and the laws. And the third one, to perform the duties of his office without fear or favor. Without showing any kind of partiality, he will perform the duties of his office. These all are the matters that is included in the oath of office. The first one, he should be loyal to the Constitution. The second one, he should uphold the Constitution and the laws. And the third one, he should perform the duties of his office without showing any partiality and without having any fear. And the next point, it is the restriction of practice. After the retirement, a permanent judge of the High Court can practice only in the Supreme Court or in those High Courts where he has not worked as a judge. And we have seen the restriction of practice in the case of the Supreme Court judge. He can't practice after retirement. But the High Court judge, he can practice in the courts in Supreme Court and the High Courts where he has not worked as a judge. In such areas he can practice, otherwise he can't practice. Transfer of the judges. The President, after consultation with the Chief Justice of India, may transfer a judge from one High Court to any other High Court. The Chief Justice of India must put forward his recommendation in this regard, and besides he must consult 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. So the President can transfer the judge. Before transferring the judge, he should consult with the Chief Justice of India, and the Chief Justice of India can give his own opinion. How? After consulting 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. And now we will see the jurisdiction of the High Courts. The jurisdiction and powers of the High Court. We had seen earlier the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and there is only a slight change here in the jurisdiction of the High Courts. First one, the original jurisdiction. The original jurisdiction, you know the meaning. It extends to those cases which the High Court has authority to hear and decide in the first instance. In the first instance itself, the High Court can hear such a kind of cases. That is the original jurisdiction, and there is no need of going to any other subordinate courts. The first instance itself, the case can be heard, or it can be put forwarded in the High Court, and the decision can be taken by the High Court by the first instance, that is the original jurisdiction. The High Court has an original jurisdiction in the following matters. The first one, it is the cases related to the wills, divorce, marriage, admiralty, company law, and contempt of court can be taken up by the High Court directly. Cases related to wills. Wills means it is a legal document and it expresses about a person's wishes and about the properties, and he can decide how to distribute his properties after the death. That is expressed through the will. It is a legal document which expresses the person's wish as to express that the property, how it should be distributed after his death. That is the will. And then divorce, marriage, then admiralty. That means something connected with the study of the laws, whether that laws are applicable in certain situations. And the next one, company law and contempt of court. If there is any disobedience of court laws, then that also can be dealt in the High Court. And the second one, the constitutional cases could be taken up under the original jurisdiction of the High Court, and every court has the power to interpret the Constitution, and this power is known as the power of judicial review. So every court has the power to interpret the Constitution, so the High Court also has got that power, so that is known as the power of judicial review. So that in that category also original jurisdiction is applicable. Now the third one, the High Court has the power to issue writ for the enforcement of the fundamental rights. The writ we had seen already, and it is used to enforce the fundamental rights. So here the High Court has got the power to issue the writs. Other local bodies can be directly tried by the High Court of the concerned state. If there is some issues related to election procedure and problems related to election, especially election of the members of the parliament, that is MPs, and the members of the state legislature, MLAs, and other local bodies, and if there is any confusion and if there is any problems, such a kind of cases can be tried by the High Court of the concerned state. And the fifth one, it has original jurisdiction over cases related to land revenue. The land revenue issues are dealt there in the High Court. Then the second jurisdiction, it is the appellate jurisdiction. The High Court has the power to accept appeals against the decisions of the district courts in civil and as well as criminal cases. In fact, the High Court hears appeal against the decisions of the lower or subordinate courts. The same jurisdiction we had seen when we studied Supreme Court. And Supreme Court also has got the appellate jurisdiction. And the appellate jurisdiction is that it has got the power to accept the appeals against the decisions of the district courts and the subordinate courts. Whenever the subordinate courts or the district courts make such a kind of decisions, then that person can go against the decisions of the subordinate courts to the High Court, and he can give appeal there in the High Court. That is known as the appellate jurisdiction. To change the decision made by the district court, a person can move to the High Court. And in civil as well as criminal cases, the person can go to the High Court for the appellate jurisdiction, and it is against the decisions of the lower or subordinate courts. The first one, we will see the civil cases. Only those civil cases which are decided by the district court under the jurisdiction of the concerned High Court can be brought to the High Court by an appeal. So that district court must be under the jurisdiction of the concerned High Court. Such cases only can be taken to the concerned High Court. So if there is a case there in Sangli district court, and that person wanted to move that case to the High Court, then he can take that case to the Maharashtra High Court, not to any other state High Court. He can't move to Andhra Pradesh High Court or Tamil Nadu High Court or Madhya Pradesh High Court. That case can be taken only to the Maharashtra High Court. That means whenever there is a particular cases in a district court and under the jurisdiction of concerned High Court, that case can be moved only under the jurisdiction of the concerned High Court. And appeals can be brought to the High Court in matters related to the land revenue, and in these cases, whenever there is a grave injustice is there, then such kind of cases can be taken to the High Court. Appeals can be brought to the High Court in matters related to land revenue and in the cases where grave injustice has been committed by any tribunal. In such cases, the High Court may quash the order of the tribunal. The High Court can cancel the order of the tribunal and make or give proper justice to the concerned person. And the next one under the appellate jurisdiction, it is criminal cases. In criminal cases, appellate jurisdiction consists of appeals against the judgment of assistant judge or an additional session judge where the sentence of imprisonment exceeds 7 years. So the person can go against the judgment of assistant judge or additional session judge whenever the imprisonment exceeds 7 years or more. And the second one against the judgment of assistant session judge and the chief metropolitan magistrates or other judicial magistrates where the sentence of imprisonment exceeds 4 years. The first one we had seen whenever the imprisonment exceeds 7 years, and the second one whenever the imprisonment exceeds 4 years, then also he can go against the judgment of the lower courts. Appeals by the state also lie to the High Court when the order is acquittal is passed by a session judge. I hope that you know the meaning of acquittal. Acquittal means declaration of the person is not guilty. So appeals by the state also lie to the High Court when the order of acquittal is passed by the session judge. If the session judge pass a particular person as not guilty, then the state government, they can go against such a kind of order issued by the session judge, and that also heard by the High Court. The next point, it is enforcement of fundamental rights and judicial reviews. This point we had already seen when we studied the Supreme Court, and we will once again go through and make clear. First one, power to issue writs. And you know what is writ. It is a legal document issued by the High Court or the Supreme Court which instruct a person to perform some act or abstain from performing an act. So it asks a person to do something or not to do something, and on what condition they ask to do or not to do. Whenever the fundamental rights of a citizen is violated, the person can appeal to the High Court and the court will issue writ to enforce the fundamental rights. So the writ, it is a legal document issued by the High Court or the Supreme Court in order to asking or instructing a person to perform or not to perform a particular action, and the main purpose is to enforce the fundamental rights of the citizen. And we had seen different types of writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. The same thing only here also discussed, and we have already explained that one. You may please go through the last chapter for more clarifications. And there is a difference with the writ of Supreme Court and the High Court. The writ jurisdiction of the High Court is wider than that of the Supreme Court. That is the difference we are going to see. The writ jurisdiction is of the High Court is wider than the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issues writs only for the enforcement of the fundamental rights, but the High Court issues writs for the enforcement of all legal rights, whether fundamental rights or other rights. That is the difference between the writ jurisdiction of High Court and the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issues writs for the enforcement of the fundamental rights, but the High Court issues the writs for the enforcement of all legal rights, whether it is fundamental or other rights. And the second point, it is the judicial review. The High Court has the power of judicial review like the Supreme Court. We have seen that one. The Supreme Court has got the power to judicial review. The same as the High Court also has got the power for judicial review. If the High Court finds that a particular law issued by the state legislature or an executive order is going against any provisions of the Constitution, it can declare the particular law or that order null and void. So, the Parliament, they make the laws, and whenever the Supreme Court finds that one it is something going against the Constitution, the Supreme Court can declare such a kind of law as null and void. The same way, in state government, the state government makes new laws, and the executive body executes such a kind of laws. And whenever the High Court sees that the laws made by the state are going against the Constitution, then they can declare that particular law or that order null and void. That is known as judicial review. Judicial review means whenever the state legislature makes the law and the executive body execute that law, then if the High Court finds that the law made by the state legislature is going against the Constitution, then the High Court can declare the laws made by the state legislature as null and void. The next one, it is the other powers. First one, revisory jurisdiction. The High Court may call for the record of any cases which has been decided by a subordinate court if the High Court feels that the subordinate court has exercised jurisdiction not vested in it or has acted with gross irregularity. It may review the cases and take appropriate action on it. This is known as the revisory jurisdiction of the High Court. You know, under the High Court there are many subordinate courts or the district courts, and whenever the High Court feels that the subordinate courts, they have taken the decision beyond their jurisdiction and did not do the decision in a proper way and did in an irregular way, then the High Court can review the cases and take the appropriate action on it whenever the subordinate court going against and going beyond its jurisdiction. In such a kind of situation, the High Court can revise the decision made by the lower or the subordinate court. That is known as the revisory jurisdiction. The second point is the power of superintendence. The High Court enjoys the power of superintendence in the following ways. The power of superintendence means power of supervision. So the High Court has the power to supervise the lower or the subordinate court in the following ways. The first one, it can call for the detailed report on the working of the courts, whether the subordinate courts are working properly or not. So related to the matters that the High Court can ask for the detailed report. The second one, may frame rules to regulate the practice and proceedings of the court. The matters related to the practices and the proceedings should be there in the court, and the High Court can make the rules or frame rules related to such matters. And the third one, may prescribe the forms in which books, entries and accounts shall be kept by officers of such courts. The fourth one, may settle the fees to be allowed to the officers, clerks and advocates of the subordinate courts. Fifth one, the appointment, posting and promotion of the district judges shall be made by governor in consultation with the High Court. Regarding the appointment, posting and promotion of the district judge, after consulting, governor in consultation with the High Court makes the decision. And the sixth point, High Court controls extends to the transfer of district judges, recall of the district judges on deputation and promotions of persons belonging to the state judicial service. The person belonging to the state judicial service, his transfer or the promotion or the recall from another duty to next duty, it is mainly done by the High Court. And the last one, High Court has no power of superintendence over the court or tribunal related to the armed forces. Superintendence, that means supervision. In above mentioned matters, the High Court has got the power of supervision, but the matters related to the armed forces, the court or tribunal related to the armed forces, the High Court has no power for supervision. Then the next point, the third one, Court of Record. The High Court is called the Court of Record for the following reasons. All its judgment and orders are kept as records for the future reference. These can be produced in any court as precedents. That means after few years later, then also these same records can be provided as an evidence of the matters related to the same cases that is going on at present. The law laid by the High Court is binding on all subordinate courts and administrative tribunals in the state. The laws laid by or made by the High Court, it is applicable in all the subordinate courts and the administrative tribunals in the state. And the last one, if a person disobeys the orders of the court, the High Court can punish him on the ground of contempt of itself, disobeying the court. On that ground, the court can punish the person who disobeys the orders of court. Okay, that is related to the other powers, the revisory jurisdiction powers of superintendents and the Court of Record. And next we will see the independence and impartiality of the High Court. Independence and impartiality of the Supreme Court we have seen, and the same points only given here and with the slight changes. Okay, the headings, if you go through, then you will understand that the headings are same and the matter, the content is there with the slight changes. The first one, appointment of the judges. The Supreme Court ruled that the Chief Justice of India should consult two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court before making any recommendation to the President regarding the appointment of the judges of the High Court. So, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, he should consult two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court before making any recommendation to the President. The President appoints the judges of the High Court, and before that he should consult with the Chief Justice of India, the Supreme Court. Then after that, the Chief Justice should consult with the two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court before making any recommendations. And the next one, security of tenure, the term. A judge can remain in office till he attains the age of 62 years, the maximum age limit, that is 62 years, and he can only be removed by the President on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity. And for that one, it should be addressed both the houses and it should get the proper majority. And otherwise, he can resign from his post by sending the resignation letter to the President. The next point, it is salaries of the judges. The salaries and the allowance of the judges are not fixed by the Parliament. Parliament is not having any authority to fix the salaries of the judges, and these are charged on the consolidated fund of the state and can only be reduced in times of financial emergency. The salary cannot be reduced, but only in the times of financial emergency the salary can be reduced. No discussion regarding the conduct of the judges. The conduct or the behavior of the judges should not be discussed in the legislature of the state or in the parliament. Regarding the behavior of the judges, it should not be discussed there in the state legislature or the parliament. Then, no practice after retirement. A retired judge can practice only in the Supreme Court or in those high courts where he has not worked before as a judge. He can practice only in Supreme Court and in the high courts where he has not worked before as a judge. The reason is that if he is working in the same high courts where he worked, then he can influence the decisions of the other judges. And the last one, the contempt of court. The High Court can punish a person for disobeying its order for contempt of itself. If any person disobeys the orders issued by the High Court, then the High Court can punish the person for disobeying the orders of High Court. That is the end of chapter 5. You may please go through the figures given there in page number 53, jurisdiction and the functions of the high courts, and figure in page number 54, judiciary structure of India. And we will discuss about this in coming chapters, the next chapter. And from this chapter, I hope that you understood about the high court and its functions, its jurisdiction. And now some homeworks are there. You may please write the first 5 short answer questions and the first 2 structured questions given there in the textbook. Thank you. Have a nice day.